Thank you for joining me on stage. So just a few minutes to take this opportunity is our pleasure on behalf of Oxford CTG team that has been brought out of, I'm losing the English at the moment, but that's come out of Chris Redman and his vision, which was also very big. And even though his knowledge was vast, he always felt, and in reality his knowledge was small. He always had more questions. He always had more research to do. He absolutely relentlessly never stopped asking, daring to ask very serious, complicated questions that can take many years to answer. So he did not hesitate and try to answer easy questions. He always tried to answer the most important questions, easy or hard. And he's been hugely influential to all of us. And with Beth, he's worked over many years and clinically, and then very much on those Redman. With Pavel, it's more similar. Me and Pavel joined around similar time, hired by Chris, trained by Mary Moden, who was trained by Chris and is kind of the technical person behind those Redman. So we were fortunate and lucky enough to really kind of learn from the best, really step on the shoulders of a giant. I chose this photo today. It's a more personal photo, somewhere from the deep archives of our endless offices. And I like this one because obviously Chris is the one in the middle, just, when he was much younger than I knew him. And he really loved children, big time. He was lucky enough to have 5 wonderful children and 13 grandchildren in his lifetime. So he used to call them babes. I always found that funny. He was like, babe this, the babes, how is the babes doing? We are going to do this with babes. So he loved children, and I think you can see this in this picture. I think Pavel and Beth, at least Pavel has told me, he's not sure he wants to say anything. But Beth, you can jump in, and you can change your mind like a woman in labor. I haven't finished, I have more. I will let you say something after me. Just saying that as a woman in labor, you can change your mind, even if you've given me information before. Now that we stick to your birth plan. So I just want to say a few words before we progress to the memorial lecture, which will be delivered by Sir Professor Aru Kumaran. But I'm not trying to pronounce your proper first name, I'm sorry. I'm not there yet. But I just want to say a few words about the relationship of Chris Redman specifically to this audience. And I will hope to find how to do that. So the important thing here that I want to really stress, so Chris had a lot of research breadth and depth. So I am not going to attempt to touch on that, not my job today. But he really had the vision about data sets, and he was relentless about data to a point that was driving me insane personally, because we were working with hundreds of thousands of CTGs at some point, and then each one single CTG, whenever it's missing its label or outcome or information, he would ask me to go look for it. And at some point in 100,000, when you are analyzing, 10 don't matter. But for him, every single one mattered. So he was meticulous about data. He had the vision about big data and about hiring computer scientists and machine learning people before people were talking about AI. He had the vision to start archiving digitally in 1993, everything he could archive. He set up in Pascal the maternity, well, it's not Pascal, but it was like a turbo. It looked like a, Oxmat, the way it looked initially. So the interface was this black screen with the white, in the 90s. So he asked midwives to be collecting amazing data, right? All these kind of things you see, from before. So the data sets were very important, and it's the legacy he left to us. And obviously we've been buried in this data, some of us, for years and years, making it better. So that's one thing I really wanted to say about his vision about data. I'm going to say one thing about his vision about measurement, for which I'm going to probably let him say that himself, if that works. Bear with me. I'm just going to play snippets, don't worry.
I took a technique that was introduced for monitoring in labor and applied it to monitoring the babe before labor I did the first antepartum CTG and very quickly learned that yes, you could see the dying baby, which we couldn't know about before, and you could dive in and save them.
So I'm going to skip forward to 405.
It is a direct way of monitoring the health of the baby's brain via looking at its heart rate. It's completely reliable within the territory it's been built to operate. It never fails in that sense. How on earth can you work out any system, the smallest cell or the whole of the universe, until you start measuring? It's the beginning and the end of any objective analysis.
So I just wanted him to say this with his own words. So he left that legacy to us as well. And then the last thing I want to say is about the spam legacy he left to us. So he left us data, he left us knowledge about how to interrogate it, he left us the knowledge how to dream big, try big, work hard, never give up. He left us the legacy of remembering that we need to measure. Scientific method is a scientific method. Everything else is just not science. But he also left us the legacy of spam, and I wanted to bring this back to this community because some of you are new, some of you were not in 2015 at our first spam meeting in Lyon, but Chris was, and he actually came up with the name spam, which I hear from you, a lot of you enjoy. But it was a very ad hoc decision, and we were starting to organize this workshop, me and Vasek from Prague, and we were brainstorming with Chris, and we were talking about signal processing, and then he said, yeah, signal processing or spamming label, ha 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 ha. So he also had the legacy that left us about humor that Pavel keeps carrying, and coffee as well. So you owe him the name, which was kind of joke, but then we kind of kept it and stuck. And I want to bring your opinion to that first meeting, and I'm pleased to have Sophia, Carol's daughter, today, or yesterday, she was around, and say that that was a very good workshop. We did record already on the first shop everything, and we are recording today and yesterday most of the talks. So they are always available online. These ones are the only ones that are on the website, not on the YouTube channel, but you can go and see, and the two big, Carol and Chris, were both giving an hour lecture. At that time, I was allowing an hour per big talk. So please do, Chris gave a very good overview in this talk about his whole journey with CTG. I'll shut up in a second. And Carl was also, obviously, he's the father of Stan, and I'm pleased to have two people today, and Sophie, obviously, and this was also an excellent talk. And the quality of video is not perfect, but I would urge this community to always go back to the big and take that legacy. And I have, I think, one last. That's a personal photo I thought I'll share about us having a drink after the second big day at the workshop, and just the way we'll celebrate today, and we'll say, okay, the hardest part of the workshop is done, we are exhausted, we are inspired, we are talked out, but we are going to share a glass of wine and enjoy each other's company. And this was the moment of, okay, we've done this workshop, it worked, we are now at the dinner. He was so proud and happy, and so was I. Thank you for listening to me, and I will pass on to Beth to share some of her personal views. And
Thank you, Antoniya, for letting me share the stage with you. I wasn't expecting to, and therefore I haven't prepared anything, so I'm only going to say very few words. Firstly, thank you for making the time today to honour Chris's memory and also to reflect on his legacy on so many ways. I was very lucky to work with Chris Redman from 1993 right up until 2 weeks before he died. I met with him numerous times a week, sometimes every day, in many different roles. I was his senior sister in the Silver Star unit, his research midwife. We set up the education program together, and he was passionate about everything he did, and he cared passionately about the women. And I think with a few things that I just want to say, one of the themes today has been listening, and I can honestly say that Chris was one of the best listeners. He really deeply listened, and he acted on that. And things are different now, but going back to 1993, he was really passionate about midwifery care. He was a huge supporter of midwives, which wasn't always the case. And And for that, I will always be grateful. He's been my mentor. He was a wonderful clinician, scientist. He was very funny. And most of all for me, he was one of my very best friends, and I feel really honoured that I was able to have been mentored in that way. So thank you, Antoniya, for doing this. And here's to the conference. You would have been
Thank you.
proud still.
Thank you so much.